Hello everyone, I hope you are doing well and you are staying safe. In this video I'm gonna talk about absolute value. What is the absolute value? The absolute value of a number is distance of the number from zero. What it means? To explain this one, let me go back a little bit backward and explain about number line. What is the number line? If you remember from very basic maths, if I draw this horizontal line, right, and I put the numbers here, this is 0. When we are going from right side of the 0, the number is getting bigger, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's keep going on to end up to very big number that we call it positive infinite. And when we are going backward from left side of the 0, so it's going to be negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, and it's keep going backward until it's end up to the very small number that we call it negative infinite. This line we call it number line. Actually the number line starts from very small number that we are calling negative infinite, and when we are going forward, when we are moving from left to right, the number changing to bigger number, negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, and then 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and continues to end up to the very large number that we cannot imagine, and we call it positive infinite. So if I want to locate 3 to this number line, or graph number 3 in this number line, it means locate the position of 3. Remember, when a number doesn't have sign, it means the sign of the number is positive. But when it's positive, usually we don't write the sign. 3 and positive 3 are the same thing. When we want to locate the 3 to the number line, so this one gonna be location of the 3 to the number line. It means is 3 units right side of the 0. Now, if I want to locate negative 3 in the number line, yeah, so where is negative 3 in the number line? Is in this one. This is the location of negative 3. So this one is negative 3. Okay, this one is negative 3 and this one is positive 3. Now, what is positive and negative sign is telling us regarding to this number 3? When we say 3, it means is 3 unit outside of the number line, right side of the number line. And when we say negative 3, it means 3 unit left side of the 0 in the number line. So 3 is 3 unit right side of the 0 in the number line. Negative 3 is 3 unit left side of the 0 at the number line. Can you see the rule of this positive and negative sign that they are playing here? But sometimes we don't care that this number is located right side of the 0 or is located left side of the 0. We need only the distance of the number from 0. So how much is the distance from 0 to 3? From 0 to 3 the distance is 1, 2, 3. So the distance between 0 and number 3 is 3 units. What is the distance between 0 and negative 3? Again is 1, let me show it, is 1, 2, 3. As you see, the distance of 3 and negative 3, the distance of these two numbers from 0, both of them are 3. Okay? Another example, what is the distance of negative 4 from 0? The distance of negative 4 from 0 is 4 units. How much is the distance of positive 4 from 0? It's between 0 to 4. Again, the distance of positive 4, 0 to positive 4 is 4. But the location of negative 4 is left side of the 0. The location of positive 4 is right side of the 0. Now, as I told you, when we don't care about the location of the number and we are looking only for the distance of the number from 0. Clear? We don't care about the location. We don't care about the sign. We just care about the distance from 0. In this case, we use absolute value. Absolute value, it means we don't care about the location. We just care the distance from 0. How we show absolute value? For showing absolute value, we just show by using the two vertical bar. These two vertical bar. These two vertical bar is the sign of absolute value, and we write it in this format. What is absolute value of 3? Absolute value of 3, it means the distance from 0 to 3 is 3. What is absolute value of negative 3? Absolute value of negative 3 again is 3. It means the distance of negative 3 from 0 is 3. Okay? As you see, the result of absolute value is always positive, regardless of what is inside this absolute value of sign. If it's negative or if it's positive, the result is always positive. So remember, the result of absolute value is always positive. Let's do some examples. What is the absolute value of 75? The absolute value of 75 is 75. What is the absolute value of negative 75? Again, remember, the result of absolute value is always positive. So it's going to be 75. Okay? So, another example, absolute value of negative 7. What is the absolute value of negative 7? Is 7. Inside the absolute value, we can have a number or we can have an expression. As an example, what is the absolute value of 5 minus 3? Yeah, as you see, between the absolute value of sign, we have an expression, 5 minus 3. First, simplify inside the absolute value. Remember the priority of operation or bit mass, the priority goes to the bracket always. An absolute value sign works same as a bracket. So for simplifying this one, we first simplify the inside the absolute value, which 5 minus 3 is 2, and then absolute value of 2 is 2. Another example, what is the absolute value of 3 minus 5? Absolute value of 3 minus 5, first simplify inside the absolute value. 3 minus 5 is minus 2, and what is the absolute value of minus 2? Is 2. Okay? Remember, the result of absolute value always is positive. Now, one tricky question. Is not that much tricky, but is a common mistake for some students. What is the absolute value of negative 2? Okay. First, can you see we have two negative? One of them is inside the absolute value, one of them is outside of the absolute value. First, I'm gonna simplify the inside the absolute value. What is the absolute value of negative 2? This negative is this one. I'm gonna write a different color. And what is the absolute value of negative 2? Is 2. This 2 is the result of this absolute value, and this negative remain as is. So the result of negative absolute value of negative 2 is negative 2. Remember, is not 2. the result of absolute value is always positive, but this negative transfer as it is. This absolute value doesn't affect this negative sign because this negative sign is outside of the absolute value. It affects only whatever is inside. Another example, what is the absolute value of negative 2 is 2. Can you see the difference between these two? In this one, absolute value of negative 2 is positive 2. For the top one, again, absolute value of negative 2 is positive 2. But because we have a negative sign here, it's moved to the next side of the expression. And what is the absolute value of negative positive 2? Okay? So inside the absolute value is visible here. Inside the absolute value is positive 2. The result is going to be 2. But remember this negative transfer. So the absolute value of negative absolute value of 2 is going to be negative 2. Okay? Let's do one more example. I want to use the term evaluate. Evaluate means calculate or find the result. It says evaluate the absolute value of negative 4. Evaluate the absolute value of negative 4. It means the result is 4. The other example, the question asking evaluate negative absolute value of negative 5 and negative absolute value of negative 23. Negative absolute value of negative 23. The question asking evaluate absolute value of negative 5 and negative 23. Remember, these are two separate numbers. So how much is the absolute value of negative 5? Is going to be 5. How much is the absolute value of negative 23? Is going to be negative 23. Let's do one example. The question asking put the correct symbol between this number, negative 3 and 2. Okay? Put the correct symbol. This one greater, this one is smaller, or this one is equal. Do you remember this sign? This one is the left side, or the open side is always greater than the closed side. Anything in this part, it should be greater than anything in the other side. Or for this one, anything in this closed side should be smaller than anything in the open side. For this one, it means equal. We have this sign as well. Less or equal, greater or equal, or sometimes we write it in this format. This one, it means less or equal, or this one is greater or equal. Okay? Now, the question asking put one of these signs between these two numbers. Okay? Where is my eraser? It's here. So, for putting the sign between these numbers, first I have to calculate this one. What is the absolute value of negative 3? Is 3. What is the absolute value of 2? Is 2. So between 3 and 2, 3 is bigger than 2. So I should put this sign. It means for the top I should put this sign too. Okay? Without the absolute value, if I say negative 3 and 2, which sign I should put? I should put this sign because negative 3 is smaller than 2. But for this one, because it says absolute value of 3 and absolute value of 2. absolute value of negative 3 and absolute value of 2. Absolute value of negative 3 is 3, absolute value of 2 is 2, but 3 is greater than 2, so we should put this side. Okay? And one more example of this part and we are done. The question asking arrange from biggest to smallest, or arrange from largest to smallest. And these are the numbers. Negative 5, negative 3, and negative absolute value of 2, and 7. Yeah? We have these 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers. The question asking arrange from biggest to smallest, from largest to smallest. Because these numbers have absolute value, first we have to calculate. This one, the absolute value of negative 5 is 5. For this one, the absolute value of negative negative 3 is going to be negative 3. The negative absolute value of 2 is going to be 2. And this one is the same number. So, these are the result. If you want to arrange from largest to smallest, the first number is going to be 7. What is the next one? It's going to be 5. What is the next one? It's going to be 2. And the last one going to be negative 3. Right? If we order from largest to smallest. Now, what are the original one? So, 7 is the same. But 5 is result of negative 5. So, is negative 5, absolute value of negative 5. And what is the next one? 2 is the result of, oh, why this one is 2? Sorry, I made mistake. I am correcting this one. The negative absolute value of 2 is going to be negative 2. Okay? Go back and please correct this one. Absolute value of negative 5 going to be 5. Absolute value of negative 3 going to be negative 3. Absolute value of absolute value of 2 is going to be negative 2. And this one going to be 7. Let's go back to and fix my mistakes. So, this one is going to be 7. Then we have 5. Then we have negative 2. And then we have negative 3. Okay? Negative 2, remember, is larger than negative 3. Why? Because negative 2 is closer to 0. We are not talking about the absolute value. The location of negative 2 is closer, or negative 2 is right side of negative 3. If we refer to the number line, yeah, this is negative 3, this is negative 2, this is negative 1, 0, 1, and so on. Okay? Can you see? Because when we are going from left to right, the numbers getting to bigger number. Because first is negative 3 and then negative 2. Negative 2 is closer to 0 to negative 2 is greater than negative 3. So if we arrange from this one, 7, then 5, then negative 2, then negative 3. Now let's write the original number. 7 is the same, the original. 5 is the result of this one. So then it's going to be negative 5. And then we have this negative 2, which is the result of negative absolute value of 2. And then we have negative 3, which is this one, negative absolute value of negative 3. So these numbers, we arrange them from smallest to, from largest to smallest. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video and it's be useful for you to learn about the absolute value, and hope to see you in next videos. Bye for now.